"Leave her." The shout ripped through the crowd like a warning siren. On the hot Lagos highway, cars slowed down and people gathered in a tight circle, their faces tense, their mouths half open like they wanted to scream but didn't know how. On the ground, an old woman lay twisted on her side. Her leg was bent in a way that made people look away. Dust clung to her blue lace. Her grey hair was scattered across her face. One of her slippers had flown off and was lying a few feet away, lonely on the tarred road. Her eyes were closed. And the scariest part? She wasn't moving. A few seconds ago, she had been walking near the edge of the road. Then a car had swerved too close. And now the driver was gone. The car had already sped away, disappearing into traffic like nothing happened. The crowd grew larger, but nobody stepped forward. Not one person. A young man in a red polo shirt raised his hands like he was scared of even breathing near her. "Don't touch her, oh," he warned. "Are you people mad? You want police to frame you?" A woman holding a nylon bag nodded quickly. "It's true. My cousin said a woman was arrested last week. She helped an accident victim, and they said she pushed the person." Fear moved through the crowd like cold water. People shook their heads. People backed away. People whispered. But the old woman still lay there, almost lifeless, with a thin sound coming from her throat like she was trying to breathe, but her body was losing the fight. Then someone pushed through the crowd. Hard. Not gently. Not politely. Like he didn't care who got angry. "Shift." The man barked. He was tall but thin. His cheeks looked hollow. His hair was rough and overgrown. His beard was tangled. His slippers were worn down like they had walked too many roads. He wore a tattered ash t-shirt that looked like it had been washed 100 times and still never became clean. Some people frowned at him. "See this one?" a woman hissed. "Homeless man." But the man didn't answer. He only stared at the old woman on the ground. And his eyes changed. Not to fear. Not to disgust. To something else. Pain. Like he had seen this kind of suffering before, and it had never stopped hurting him. He dropped to his knees beside her. "Madam, can you hear me?" he said, voice low, urgent. No response. He touched her wrist like he was checking for a pulse the way doctors do in movies. His fingers trembled, but he focused. "She's still here," he whispered. "She's still here." The crowd watched him like he was crazy. "Guy, leave her," someone warned again. "Police will hold you." The man looked up slowly. His eyes were red, not from smoke, but from hunger, stress, and too many nights of sleeping with one eye open. "My name is Adam," he said, loud enough for all of them to hear. "And if helping a dying woman old enough to be my mother will put me in prison, then so be it." Some people gasped. Some scoffed. But Adam didn't wait for anyone to clap for him. He grabbed the bottom of his ash t-shirt and pulled it over his head in one hard motion. Underneath, his singlet was dirty, his skin scraped in places like life had been rough with him. He rolled the shirt quickly in his hands and wrapped it around the old woman's injured leg, tying it tight to slow the bleeding and hold it still. The old woman let out a weak sound, a tiny moan. Like her body was trying to stay. Adam's throat tightened. "Stay with me, Mama," he pleaded. "Please stay." Then he slid one arm under her shoulders and the other under her knees and lifted her carefully. She felt light, too light, like someone who hadn't eaten well in a long time, or someone whose body was giving up. Adam stood up with her in his arms, sweat already running down his face, and he began to walk toward the road. "Taxi!" he shouted. "A beg! Help!" Cars passed. Drivers looked. Nobody stopped. One yellow bus slowed down, then sped up again. A Kiki rider shook his head fast, like he was afraid. Adam ran to the next lane, waving his hand, almost jumping in front of a car. The driver cursed and swerved. "Are you mad?" "She will die," Adam shouted back. "Please." Still no one stopped. The crowd stayed behind him, watching, but nobody joined him. Some people had their phones out, recording. Adam didn't even look back. He tried again. And again. His arms began to ache. His back burned. His legs shook, but he kept moving, stepping off the road, stepping back on, shouting until his voice started cracking. A taxi finally slowed down. A battered yellow taxi with faded paint and a cracked headlight. The driver, a middle-aged man with tired eyes, leaned out the window. "What happened?" he asked. Adam rushed to him. "Accident. Please, help me." She's dying. The driver looked at the woman in Adam's arms, then looked at the crowd, then looked at Adam's dirty clothes. For a second, Adam saw it in his face. The driver was thinking of trouble. Police. Accusation. Stress. The driver's hand tightened on the steering wheel. Adam's heart pounded. He forced his voice to stay calm. I don't have money, Adam admitted quickly. But please, I beg you, don't let her die here, even if you drop us at the hospital gate, please. The driver swallowed. Then he unlocked the door. Hurry, the driver said, voice low. Put her at the back seat. Let's go. Adam almost cried. He gently laid the old woman across the seat and climbed in beside her, holding her upright so her head wouldn't drop. Lagos Medical Center, Adam said. Please drive fast. The driver didn't answer. He stepped on the accelerator. The taxi took off, pushing through traffic like a man chasing a miracle. Inside the car, the old woman's breathing became weaker. Adam held her hand tightly. Please, he whispered again. Don't go. Not like this. He noticed her purse had fallen open slightly. Her phone was inside. He grabbed it with shaky hands. The screen was still on. There was no passcode. Like she had been using it recently. Adam's fingers moved fast. He opened the contacts list, looking for anyone who could show up. Then he saw it. A name saved boldly, like it was the most important person in her life. My only child. Adam's chest squeezed. He tapped the number and pressed call. It rang once, twice, 3 times. His stomach twisted. Pick up, he begged under his breath. Please pick up. Finally, a soft female voice answered. Hello? Adam breathed out like he had been holding his breath forever. Ma'am, he said. I'm sorry to call like this. Your mother had an accident. She was knocked down on the highway. I rushed her into a taxi. We're going to Lagos Medical Center now. There was silence. Then a sharp inhale. My mother? The voice repeated, suddenly no longer soft. It sounded like shock mixed with fear. What is your name? Where exactly are you? My name is Adam, he said quickly. We're close to the hospital now. Please, hurry. The line went quiet for half a second. Then the woman spoke again, and her voice changed completely like a leader giving orders. Listen carefully, stay with her. Don't let them delay you at the gate. I'm coming. The call ended. Adam stared at the phone. Who was this woman? And why did her voice sound like someone used to power? Before Adam could even think more, the taxi turned sharply into the hospital entrance. Nurse, Adam shouted as the taxi stopped. Help, please. Hospital staff rushed out with a stretcher. They wheeled the old woman in fast. Adam followed, barefoot, shirtless, breathing hard, his whole body shaking. At the emergency desk, a nurse looked at him with suspicion. Who is she to you? The nurse asked. Adam opened his mouth to answer. But before he could, a loud sound rose outside. Not one car. Many cars. Engines. Doors slamming. Footsteps running. A sudden fear spread through Adam's chest. Because that kind of noise did not sound like normal hospital visitors. It sounded like something big. Something powerful. Something dangerous. Then the hospital doors burst open, and a convoy of black SUVs rolled into view through the glass. So many that staff and patients turned to stare. A woman stepped out of the first SUV. She was tall, elegant, and dressed like money. Even from a distance, Adam could see her eyes were full of fire. She ran into the hospital like she didn't care who was watching, and shouted one sentence that made the whole place freeze. Where is my mother? Adam's heart dropped, because in that moment, he realized the old woman he had carried with his bare arms was not just any stranger, and whatever was about to happen next could change his life forever. The hospital went silent. Every nurse, every patient, every visitor froze as the woman strode inside with long, urgent steps. She didn't look confused. She didn't look lost. She looked like someone who was used to walking into rooms and being obeyed. Her heels clicked sharply against the floor. Security men in dark suits followed behind her, their eyes scanning the hallway. Adam stood near the wall, his chest rising and falling fast. His heart hammered so loudly he felt like everyone could hear it. The nurse pointed down the corridor with a shaking hand. Emergency ward. Second door on the left. The woman didn't say thank you. She ran. Adam watched her go, his mind spinning. My only child. That was the name saved on the phone. Before he could move, 2 doctors rushed past him, pulling on gloves. "She's critical," one of them said urgently. "Blood pressure is dropping." Adam followed without thinking. At the ward door, he stopped short. The woman was already inside. The old woman, Madam Veronica, lay on the bed, tubes now attached to her body. Machines beeped softly, each sound sharp and frightening. "Mama," the woman whispered, rushing to her side. Adam saw it clearly now. This was no ordinary daughter. The way doctors paused when she spoke, the way nurses nodded quickly, the way security men stood straight. The woman turned sharply toward the doctors. "Do whatever you need to do," she said, her voice firm but shaking underneath. "Money is not the problem. Save her." The doctor nodded. "She needs urgent surgery. We must move now." "Then move," the woman replied. "Now." They wheeled the bed away. Adam stood there, alone, his hands trembling. Suddenly, the woman turned and saw him clearly for the first time. She looked him up and down. Dusty trousers, bare feet. For a second, Adam felt small, ashamed. "You," she said, pointing at him. Adam swallowed. "Yes. You called me?" she asked. "Yes," Adam answered quietly. "I found your number in her phone." The woman stared at him, her eyes sharp, searching his face like she was trying to read the truth written on his skin. "You saved her?" she asked. Adam nodded. She was knocked down on the highway. Everyone was afraid to touch her. The driver ran away. The woman's lips parted slightly. "And you?" she asked softly now. "You were not afraid?" Adam hesitated, then shook his head. "I was afraid," he said honestly, "but I couldn't leave her there." The woman closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them again, they were wet. "Thank you," she said, her voice breaking just a little. "Thank you for saving my mother." Adam didn't know what to say. He had not done it for thanks. He had done it because he couldn't live with himself if he walked away. They stood there in silence. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, a doctor came out of the operating room. The woman rushed forward. "Doctor?" The doctor removed his mask slowly. His face was serious. "We are going in now," he said. "The surgery will be risky. She lost a lot of blood. We'll do our best." The woman nodded. "Please." The doors closed again. That was when the waiting began. Time stretched. Adam sat on a plastic chair in the corner, his elbows on his knees, his hands clasped tightly. His stomach growled, but he ignored it. Hunger was nothing compared to the fear sitting in his chest. Across from him, the woman sat straight-backed, her hands folded, her eyes fixed on the closed door. Finally, she spoke. "My name is Amanda," she said quietly. "Amanda Kingsley." Adam looked up. Even with everything happening, the name hit him. Amanda Kingsley. The billionaire CEO of Amanda Group of Companies. Everyone in Nigeria knew her name. She was on billboards, on magazines, on television. Adam felt dizzy. "I'm Adam," he said again, barely above a whisper. Amanda looked at him. Really looked at him this time. "Sit closer," she said gently. "You look like you might fall." Adam hesitated, then obeyed. They sat there together, one of the richest women in the country and one of the poorest men on the highway. Hours passed. No news. Every time footsteps approached, Amanda stood up. Finally, near midnight, the operating room door opened. The doctor stepped out, his shoulders slumped with tiredness. Amanda jumped to her feet. "Doctor?" The doctor smiled faintly. "The surgery was successful," he said. Amanda gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Adam felt his knees weaken. "She's stable," the doctor continued. "The next 24 hours are critical, but she's alive." Amanda let out a cry and sank into the chair, tears flowing freely now. Adam bowed his head, whispering a quiet thank you to God. 2 days later, Madam Veronica was strong enough to leave the hospital. A convoy waited outside. Amanda turned to Adam. "Come with us." Adam froze. "Me?" "Yes," she said. "You're coming home with us." Adam didn't know how to refuse. The mansion was bigger than anything Adam had ever seen. High gates, green lawns, quiet power. Madam Veronica cried when she saw Adam again. "This is the man?" she asked weakly. "Yes, Mama," Amanda said. "This is Adam. He saved you." Madam Veronica reached for Adam's hand with trembling fingers. "God bless you," she said. "God bless you, my son." That night, Amanda invited Adam to sit with her in the garden. The air was calm. The lights were soft. Amanda listened as Adam told his story. "I was once a financial analyst," Adam said slowly. "I had a good job, a good life." Amanda leaned forward. "But I was accused of a crime I didn't commit," he continued. "I was imprisoned for 5 years. When I came out, everything was gone. My job, my home, my name." Tears ran down Amanda's face. "You saved my mother," she whispered, "and you lost everything trying to live honestly." She wiped her eyes and looked at him with determination. "I promise you," she said, her voice steady. "I will help you. Just like you helped my mother." Adam felt something break inside him. Hope, for the first time in years. And as the garden lights flickered softly around them, neither of them knew that this promise would soon pull Adam back into a world filled with power, danger, and secrets that were far from over. Adam did not sleep that night. The guest room was bigger than the single room he used to rent years ago, before prison, before the streets. The bed was soft, too soft. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt like he would sink into it and disappear. So he sat on the edge of the bed, staring at his hands. Hands that had once held files, calculators, and clean pens. Hands that had later held prison bars. Hands that had held a dying woman on a hot highway. At dawn, a soft knock came on the door. "Adam?" A gentle voice called. It was Madam Veronica. "Come in, Mama," Adam said quickly, standing up. She entered slowly, supported by a walking stick. Her face was still pale, but her eyes were alive. "I wanted to see you," she said. "To look at you properly." She sat down and smiled at him like a mother who had finally found a lost child. "You didn't ask who I was," she said. Adam shook his head. "You were a human being in trouble. That was enough." Madam Veronica's eyes filled with tears. "Kindness is rare these days," she said, "especially in Lagos." Later that morning, Amanda called Adam into her study. The room was filled with awards, books, and framed newspaper headlines. She gestured for him to sit. "I've gone through your story," she said. "I verified it." Adam's heart jumped. You did?" "Yes," Amanda replied. "Your case, the company you worked for, the false accusation." She leaned forward. "You were set up," she said calmly, "and the people who did it are still enjoying their lives." Adam's breath caught. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. "Because," Amanda said, "I want you to work for me." Adam stared at her. "Me? I need a financial advisor I can trust," she said. "And trust is not something money can buy." Adam's voice shook. "I've been out of work for years. People won't accept me." "They will," Amanda said firmly, "because I will stand with you." 2 weeks later, Adam walked into Amanda Group headquarters, wearing a suit. The whispers started immediately. "Who is that? Isn't that the homeless man from the news? Why is he here?" Adam kept his head up, but his hands shook. Amanda walked beside him, calm and confident. "This is Adam," she announced in the boardroom. "My new financial advisor." Some faces frowned. Some faces laughed silently. But when Adam began to speak, explaining numbers, cutting through lies, spotting risks others had missed, the room went quiet. By the end of the meeting, nobody laughed. Days turned into weeks. Adam worked harder than anyone. He arrived early. He left late. Slowly, respect replaced doubt. Madam Veronica watched him closely, always smiling when she saw him. "You belong here," she told him one afternoon. "Not on the streets." Adam believed her. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Adam and Amanda stood in the mansion garden again. "You saved my life in more ways than one," Adam said softly. Amanda looked at him, her heart racing. "I think," she hesitated. "I think I'm falling for you." Adam dropped to one knee without thinking. "I love you," he said. "Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Amanda's face as she said yes. But somewhere in the shadows, someone watched, and that someone did not smile. The news of the engagement spread like wildfire. By morning, blogs were buzzing. By afternoon, television stations were calling. By evening, social media was on fire. Billionaire CEO engaged to former homeless man. The stranger who saved a billionaire's mother. From prison to palace. Adam's shocking rise. Adam tried not to read the headlines, but they found him anyway. At the office, some people congratulated him with genuine smiles. Others smiled too widely, their eyes cold. A few avoided him completely. Amanda noticed everything. "Don't let the noise get to you," she told him one night as they sat together in the living room. People will always talk. Adam nodded, but deep inside, fear crept in. He had learned the hard way that when life suddenly becomes good, it often attracts trouble. The wedding that stopped Lagos, the wedding was set for 2 months later. It was nothing Lagos had ever seen. The hall was filled with white flowers, gold decorations, and soft lights that made everything glow. Guests arrived in expensive lace, fine suits, and sparkling jewelry. Powerful people flew in from different countries. Adam stood at the altar, his hands shaking. He was dressed in a clean, perfectly fitted suit, but part of him still felt like the man in the tattered ash t-shirt on the highway. Then the music changed. Everyone stood. Madam Veronica appeared at the entrance, holding Amanda's hand. She looked strong now, proud. Her eyes were full of tears as she walked her daughter down the aisle. When she reached Adam, she paused. "This is the man who saved my life," she said clearly, her voice steady but emotional. "And today, I hand my daughter to him." She placed Amanda's hand in Adam's. Adam's vision blurred. As he looked at Amanda, beautiful, brave, and smiling through tears, he felt something he hadn't felt in many years. Safety. When they said their vows, the room was silent. "I promise to stand by you," Amanda said, "not because of where you came from, but because of who you are." "I promise to protect you," Adam replied, his voice thick, "just as you protected my broken life." They kissed. The hall erupted in cheers. For that moment, everything was perfect. Marriage brought joy, but it also brought pressure. Adam moved fully into the mansion. He worked harder than ever at the company. Amanda balanced her role as a wife and a powerful CEO. Late nights became common. One evening, Adam noticed something strange. A document on his desk, one he had never prepared, was signed with his name. He frowned. "This is wrong," he murmured. When he asked the junior staff, they shrugged. When he asked the accounts department, they avoided his eyes. That night, Adam barely slept. In the dark, memories of prison walls returned. What if this is happening again? What if someone is trying to destroy him? The next morning, Amanda announced news that changed everything. "I'm pregnant," she said softly, her hand on her stomach. Adam froze. Then he laughed. Then he cried. He lifted her off the ground and spun her around, laughing like a child. Madam Veronica clapped her hands joyfully. "God has answered our prayers." For months, happiness filled the mansion. Amanda slowed down at work. Adam became even more careful, protecting her from stress. But the strange documents did not stop appearing. Adam began secretly keeping copies. Proof. Insurance. 9 months later, late at night, Amanda cried out in pain. "Adam!" He rushed to her side. Blood stained the bedsheet. Fear hit him like a punch. They rushed her to the hospital, sirens screaming through the night. Madam Veronica prayed in the waiting room, tears running freely now. Doctors moved fast. Too fast. Hours passed. Finally, a doctor came out. Adam stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "How is my wife?" he asked, his voice shaking. The doctor hesitated. "Mrs. Kingsley is stable," he said slowly. "But the baby..." Adam's heart dropped. "We tried everything," the doctor continued gently. "The baby didn't survive." The words felt unreal. Amanda's scream echoed down the hallway when she heard. She cried until there were no tears left. Adam held her, his own tears soaking her hair. Madam Veronica collapsed into a chair, whispering prayers through sobs. The house that once echoed with laughter fell silent. Days turned into weeks. Amanda barely spoke. She stared out windows. She avoided mirrors. Adam tried everything, talking, holding, praying, but grief sat heavy between them. One night, Amanda finally spoke. "Maybe this is punishment," she whispered, "for choosing love over power." Adam shook his head fiercely. "No, don't say that. This was not your fault." But doubt had already entered her heart. While Amanda mourned, Adam discovered the truth. Late one evening at the office, he stayed behind. He followed a pattern in the fake documents. And then he saw it. A familiar name. A senior executive. Someone Adam had once questioned in a board meeting. Someone who had smiled politely. Too politely. Adam's stomach twisted. "They are setting me up." Again. He copied the files and saved them in multiple places. As he was leaving the office, his phone buzzed. An unknown number. "Hello?" Adam answered cautiously. A low voice replied, You should have stayed on the streets, Adam. Adam stopped walking. Who is this? He demanded. You took something that was never meant to be yours, the voice continued. The woman, the power, the life. The line went dead. Adam stood alone in the dark parking lot, his heart racing. The past was knocking again. And this time, it wasn't alone. Healing was slow, but love remained. 2 years after the loss, Amanda became pregnant again. Fear filled the mansion, but hope followed closely. This time, doctors watched carefully. Guards were placed everywhere. Adam barely left Amanda's side. When labor came, it was calm. Too calm. Hours passed. Then finally, a cry filled the room. Then another. The doctor smiled widely. Twins, he announced. A boy and a girl. Amanda sobbed with joy. Adam dropped to his knees, thanking God openly. They named them Jessica and Jerry. Madam Veronica held the babies, tears falling freely onto their tiny faces. Kindness brought you here, she whispered. Never forget that. The mansion was alive again. But Adam couldn't shake the feeling in his chest. Because even as he held his children, he knew the shadow that had once destroyed his life was still watching. And it was waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. Adam woke up to a strange silence. Not the peaceful kind. The mansion usually had soft sounds in the morning, cleaners moving, birds outside, Madam Veronica humming gospel songs, the twins making tiny baby noises. But today, nothing. Adam sat up fast. Amanda? He whispered. No answer. His heart jumped. He slid off the bed and rushed into the hallway. At the end of the corridor, he saw a maid standing stiffly, her eyes wide. Sir, the maid said, voice shaking. Madam Veronica. She collapsed. Adam's blood ran cold. He ran. Inside Madam Veronica's room, 2 nurses were already there. Amanda stood beside the bed, pale, holding her mother's hand. Madam Veronica's lips were slightly open, her breathing shallow. Doctor is on the way, a nurse said quickly. Adam reached for Madam Veronica's wrist. Her pulse was weak but present. Mama, Adam whispered. Please, not now. Madam Veronica's eyelids fluttered. For a second, her eyes opened. She looked at Adam, and even though she was weak, her gaze was sharp like she was trying to pass a message. Then her eyes shifted to Amanda. Her fingers squeezed Amanda's hand, once, twice, and then her eyes closed again. A few minutes later, the doctor arrived. We need to move her to the hospital, he said urgently. Now. In minutes, the convoy was ready. Amanda didn't cry, but her face looked like someone was fighting a storm inside. Adam carried Jessica's baby bag, while a nanny carried Jerry. The twins were still small, but they seemed to sense the tension. They made soft sounds, restless. Madam Veronica was loaded into the ambulance. As the vehicles pulled out of the mansion, Adam's phone buzzed. A text message. From an unknown number. You thought you won. Today, you lose everything. Adam's fingers tightened around the phone. His stomach dropped. The shadow was moving. At the hospital, Madam Veronica was rushed into the emergency room. Amanda paced the hallway, her heels clicking like a clock counting down. Adam stood near the wall, watching the doors. Then it happened. A group of men in suits stormed into the hall with cameras behind them. Not doctors. Not nurses. Men with hard eyes. Government investigators. Behind them were police officers. Amanda stepped forward instantly, furious. What is this? She demanded. Who are you people? A tall investigator raised a file. Mrs. Amanda Kingsley, he said loudly, so everyone could hear. We have an urgent matter. Amanda's eyes narrowed. This is a hospital. My mother is dying. The investigator didn't blink. Mr. Adam Okoro, he said, turning toward Adam. You are under investigation for financial fraud and embezzlement involving Amanda Group of companies. The hallway went silent. Adam felt like the floor disappeared under him. What? He whispered. The investigator opened the file and pulled out papers. These are signed approvals under your name, he said. Transfers, diversions, hidden accounts. Cameras zoomed in. Amanda's face snapped toward Adam. Adam shook his head fast. No, he said. No, that's not true. The investigator stepped closer. We also have a witness, he said coldly. A senior executive who claims you forced him to cooperate. A familiar voice spoke from behind the investigators. He did it. Adam turned. And there he was, Mr. Benson DK, the senior executive with the polite smile. Now he looked confident, almost pleased. Adam's chest tightened. Amanda's voice rose. "Benson," she shouted, "are you insane?" Benson shrugged lightly, acting like he was calm. "Madam," he said, "I kept quiet for too long. Adam threatened me. He said if I talked, he would destroy me." Adam stared at him like he was seeing a ghost. "You're lying," Adam said, voice shaking with rage. "You're the one who's been forging documents." The investigator raised his hand. "Enough," he said. "Mr. Adam Okoro, you will come with us." 2 police officers stepped toward Adam. Amanda stepped in front of him like a wall. "No," she snapped. "You are not touching my husband." The investigator's eyes stayed cold. "Madam, move aside." Amanda didn't move. Adam touched her arm gently. "Amanda," he said softly, "don't fight them. Not here. Not like this." Her eyes filled with tears. Adam leaned close to her ear. "I kept copies," he whispered. "I knew this would happen. I have proof." Amanda's breath caught. The investigator frowned. "What are you whispering about?" Adam straightened slowly. "I will go," he said calmly. "But I'm innocent." Benson's smile twitched. Adam noticed. That tiny twitch gave Adam strength, because it meant Benson was not as confident as he was pretending. Adam allowed the officers to handcuff him. The cold metal snapped onto his wrists, and suddenly he was back in prison again, back in that dark place he thought he had escaped forever. Amanda cried out, "Adam!" He turned. "Stay with Mama," he told her firmly. "Protect the twins. And find my files." Then they dragged him away. At the police station, Adam sat in a small room with a flickering light. Just like before. His hands were still cuffed. A detective slid a folder across the table. "We know your type," the detective said. "You climbed into wealth and thought you could steal without being noticed." Adam's jaw tightened. "I didn't steal anything," he said. The detective scoffed. "Your record says otherwise. Ex-convict, 5 years. Fraud." Adam's chest burned. "That case was false," Adam said. "I was framed." The detective leaned back. "Convenient story," he replied. Adam closed his eyes briefly. He forced himself to breathe. He remembered what the highway taught him. Fear makes people freeze, but courage makes people move. He opened his eyes again. "I want my lawyer," he said, "and I want my wife present." The detective smiled like it amused him. "You think your billionaire wife can save you?" he asked. Adam looked him straight in the face. "She won't save me," Adam said. "The truth will." Amanda didn't go home. She stayed at the hospital until Madam Veronica was stable. Then she left the twins in trusted care and drove straight to the company. Her face was hard now. No tears. Only purpose. She entered the office like a storm. "Where is Benson?" she demanded. Staff trembled. One person whispered, "He left." Immediately after the police came, Amanda's jaw clenched. She marched into Adam's office. The room still smelled like him. Papers were neatly stacked. A pen lay on the desk. Amanda's hands shook as she opened drawers. Nothing. She checked cabinets. Nothing. Then she remembered the way Adam had said it, quiet, careful. "I kept copies." Amanda looked around and noticed something she had never paid attention to before. A small picture frame on the shelf. A simple photo of her, Adam and Madam Veronica, smiling in the garden. Amanda lifted it. Behind it was a plain brown envelope taped to the wall. Her breath caught. She pulled it down. Inside were flash drives and printed documents. Amanda's eyes scanned the pages. Her heart pounded harder with every line. Because it was all there. Proof that transfers were approved from Benson's login. Proof that Adam's signature was copied digitally. Proof that Benson had been moving money into hidden accounts under fake vendor names. And there was more. A second file. A report. A timeline. A list of people involved. Amanda's hands trembled. She didn't just see a frame-up. She saw a network. A whole group of greedy people inside her company, waiting for the right moment to bring her down. And Adam's name was their weapon. Amanda wiped her tears and stood up straight. "Not today," she whispered. 2 days later, Adam stood in court. The room was packed. Cameras everywhere. People whispered as he walked in, handcuffed again. Amanda entered behind him, dressed in a simple black suit. Her eyes were red, but her posture was strong. When Adam saw her, his chest ached. She reached out and squeezed his hand briefly. "I found it," she whispered. "Everything." Adam's eyes closed for a second. Relief hit him like rain after a dry season. Benson sat across the room, acting innocent. But Adam noticed his leg shaking under the table. The judge entered. The prosecutor spoke first, painting Adam like a criminal who used kindness as a trick to enter a billionaire family. Adam listened, jaw tight. Then Amanda's lawyer stood up. "Your lordship," the lawyer began calmly, "this case is built on lies." He held up the first document. "Here is proof that the so-called signed approvals were generated through copied digital signatures," he said. He played a video showing company login records. "Here is proof that Mr. Benson Dyke accessed these accounts at the exact times these transfers happened." A murmur spread through the courtroom. Benson's face turned pale. The prosecutor protested, but Amanda's lawyer continued. "And finally," he said, "we have traced these diverted funds to accounts connected to Benson Dyke and his partners." He paused. "Your lordship, this is not just fraud. This is a planned attempt to destroy Mr. Adam Okoro and destabilize Amanda Group." The judge's eyes narrowed. He turned to Benson. "Mr. Benson Dyke," the judge said slowly, "do you have an explanation?" Benson's mouth opened, then closed. Sweat formed on his forehead. I, he stammered. Amanda stood up suddenly. Her voice rang through the courtroom like thunder. "You tried to ruin the man who saved my mother," she cried. "You tried to send him back to prison because you thought he didn't belong in our world." Benson's face twisted. And then, right there in court, he cracked. He shouted, "He was never supposed to be here. He was supposed to stay nothing." Gasps exploded across the room. The judge slammed his gavel. "Order!" But it was too late. Benson had exposed his own hatred. Police officers moved toward Benson. Benson tried to stand, tried to run, but officers grabbed him. "No," he screamed, "you don't understand. I was promised." One officer tightened his grip. "Promised by who?" the judge demanded sharply. Benson's eyes darted around. His mouth trembled. Then he whispered the name that made Amanda freeze. "Chief Raymond Akinwale," Benson said. The room went dead silent. That name was big. A powerful board member. A man known in Lagos circles as someone who could bend things quietly. Amanda's lips parted. Adam's blood ran cold. Because Chief Raymond had once been one of the people who judged Adam in the first place, years ago, when he was first framed. The judge's face darkened. "Bring him in," the judge ordered. That afternoon, Chief Raymond arrived in court, wearing expensive clothes and a confident smile. He acted calm, until Amanda's lawyer presented the final piece. A recorded phone call. Adam's phone had auto-saved it. The unknown caller. The threat. And a voice match confirmed it. Chief Raymond's smile vanished. The judge stared at him with disgust. "You threatened a witness," the judge said. "You orchestrated this." Chief Raymond's face hardened. He tried to speak, but the courtroom was already against him. Because now everyone could see the truth. Adam was not the criminal. Adam was the target. Police moved in. Chief Raymond was arrested on the spot. Cameras flashed wildly. Amanda stood still, shaking, like she couldn't believe the enemy had been sitting at her table all along. Adam turned to her. His eyes were wet. She reached for him. They held hands in front of the whole world. The judge spoke firmly. "Mr. Adam Okoro," he said, "you are cleared of all charges." The gavel hit the desk, and in that moment, it felt like Adam's chains finally broke, both the metal ones and the invisible ones that had held his life down for years. When Adam and Amanda returned home, Madam Veronica was waiting in the living room, wrapped in a soft shawl, her eyes already wet. Adam walked to her slowly. He knelt beside her like a son. Madam Veronica cupped his face with trembling hands. "My son," she whispered, "I knew God sent you that day on the highway." Amanda sat beside them and cried quietly. The twins were brought in. Jessica's little fingers curled around Adam's thumb. Jerry yawned and stared at his father like he recognized him. Adam kissed their tiny heads. Amanda leaned into him. "I almost lost you," she whispered. "You didn't," Adam replied, "because you fought." That night, the mansion garden was filled with soft light again. Amanda, Adam, and Madam Veronica sat together, watching the stars. Madam Veronica spoke in a calm voice. "People think kindness is weakness," she said, "but kindness is power." Real power. Adam nodded, his throat tight. Amanda looked at him and smiled through tears. And it's kindness, she said softly, that brought you into our lives and turned pain into family. Months passed. Adam remained the financial advisor, but now with full respect. He also started a foundation with Amanda to help wrongfully accused people like the old Adam, trapped by lies. Amanda became known not just as a billionaire CEO, but as a woman who stood for justice. And Madam Veronica? She lived long enough to see the twins take their first steps in the same garden where Adam once proposed. One evening, as the sun set warm and golden, Adam stood at the mansion gate for a moment, watching the road outside. He remembered the highway, the fear in the crowd, the old woman lying almost lifeless, and the choice he made. He looked back at the mansion. Amanda called from inside, laughing as the twins babbled. Madam Veronica's gentle voice followed. "Adam, come and eat." Adam smiled small, grateful, and full of peace. He walked back into the house, because the truth was now clear. He didn't just save a stranger that day. He saved his own future, and in return, kindness saved him too. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? If you enjoyed this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.